Here's the second method to create binary variables using R via pattern matching. The function that I'm interested in is grepl. Grepl is part of a family of pattern matching and replacement functions. It searches for matches to argument pattern within each element of a character vector. Each function differs in the format and the detail of the results. So grepl looks for a pattern in a vector x and it returns a logical factor, true or false. I would strongly recommend you to learn more about grepl function by typing $grepl in the R console. Let's look at an example. So I've created a fixed data set of 11 different wines with different combination of the flower words, rose, lavender, and honeysuckle in its description. So here you can see, for example, honeysuckle with a space in between, rose lavender, and I have here honey lavender, but with the lavender spelled differently with an A instead of an E. And last but not least, I have rose lavender honeysuckle spelled together without any space in between. Let's go to our example. So our objective here is to create the flower variable that detects the words rose, lavender, and honeysuckle using our Y data set. So basically there are two ways to go about this using the grepl function. First option is to create individual variables that detects rose, lavender, and honeysuckle, and then we'll create a flower variable by combining all three using the OR operator. So basically, if any one of this is true, then our flower variable is true. Option number 2 is a little simpler. Here we use the OR operator within the pattern argument in the grepl function itself. And the result is basically the same as the flower variable created in option 1. Okay, let's go to RStudio. First of all, you want to load in all your libraries, and I've already done them here. And so I'm gonna show you how to create variables using the Y dataset that I've created here. So we'll read in the dataset, and let's take a look. For some reason there's 2 extra rows, so I'm gonna trim them out. Let's go to our Y dataset and take a look. Now we can see that the 2 rows are gone, and we can see here a list of 11 wines with descriptions that I've made up. And so what we'll do here is go with option 1 to create 3 variables, rose, lavender, and honeysuckle, one without the fixed argument and one with the fixed argument. So let's run them through quickly. Let's go and take a look at the results. And as you can see here, there are 6 new variables created. And if you compare between the ones created without the fixed equals to true argument and the one with the fixed equals to true argument, there's basically no difference. And same for lavender and honeysuckle. So let's go back to our code, and next we want to create the flower variable by combining all 3, rose, lavender, and honeysuckle. So if one of them is true, then the result will be true. Let's go ahead and run it. So while we're here, I'm going to create flower variable using option 2. First without the fixed equals to true argument, and the second one with the fixed equals to true argument. So let's run the code quickly. Let's go to our dataset and have a look. And as you can see here, both option 1 and option 2 gave the same results. If you go line by line, they match each other. For option 2 with the fixed equals to true argument, the results all came out as false. So the trick here is to not use the fixed equals to true argument if you're using option 2. Let's do a quick sense check to see if our variables are picking up the right words. So let's start with number 6. We have rose, lavender separated by a space. So because we have both rose and lavender, these should give us true in both rose and lavender, which is what we are seeing here, true in both rose and lavender. And because we have 2 true, we will get a true for flower as well, and that's what we see here. Let's pick another example. So number 5, honey. It's not honeysuckle, so we will not be getting a true for honeysuckle, which is what we're seeing here. And because there's absence of rose and lavender, we will not be getting a true in both rose and lavender variables as well, which is what we're seeing here. And because there's not at least one true in all three variables here, we will not be getting a true in the flower variable as well, which is what we're seeing here. So it makes sense. Okay, let's now turn to using our Kaggle wine dataset to create the binary variables. Let's first read in the dataset, and let's take a quick look at it. That's our dataset, a total of 150k rows, and we can take a quick look using the glimpse function to look at the data characteristics. Let's start by creating the chalk variable, which detects either chocolate or mocha. And so using option 1, we'll create chocolate and mocha variables separately and then combine them to make the chalk variable. Using option 2, we'll create a second chalk variable using an OR operator within the grepl function, and we'll compare this chalk variable to the chalk variable created in option 1 to see if there's any differences. So let's run the code to create the second chalk variable. Let's go ahead and test it out if chalk 1 is indeed equals to chalk 2. So the way I do this is I set them to equal to each other with a double equal sign, and then for each row, if chalk 1 equals chalk 2, then the result will be 1. And then I'll sum them all up, and if for each row both equals each other, the sum will be the total records, which is 150,930 records. So let's quickly run it and to get the sum. As you can see, the sum is equal to the total number of records, and so this validates that chalk 1 is equals to chalk 2. Let's now move on to create the file variable, the one that detects 3 words, which are rose, lavender, and honeysuckle. So we'll create the file variable using both option 1 and option 2, and then again we're going to validate if both file variables are indeed the same. Let's run through the codes. That's flower variable number 1, and then flower variable number 2. And so we'll validate both variables to see if they are the same. So again, we can see here that the sum equals to the total number of records, which means that both flower variables are indeed the same. I'm going to go ahead and create the other binary flavor variables using option number 2, and this includes berry, citrus, coffee, herb, melon, mint, nut, spice, stone fruit, and tobacco flavor variables. Let's run through the code to create all of them. Gonna wait for it to run. Now that it's all done, let's go have a look at our data set. And let's go to the right. And as we can see here, all the other flavor variables are created on top of the chalk and flower variable. Now that we've created all the binary flavor variables, we've come to the last bit of this exercise. Next, we're going to remove all unwanted columns, and then we're going to export the dataset into a CSV file for other analysis. So let's run the code to remove unwanted columns, and let's go ahead and double check. So indeed, we have all the other chalk columns and flower columns removed. And now let's export it to a CSV file,